And one of the things that I know we've spoken about before on this podcast is actually the importance of the role of HR is critical in keeping information secure, even from the perspective of, you have an employee that's going for a disciplinary process. I mean, like, your security team need to know about that. They need to know about that. And even things when employees leave the organization, just make sure you shut down their user account. I mean, that's like things like that. Like, and I saw a meme on LinkedIn. They were like, the time that IT realized that someone has joined the organization is 2 or 3 days after they've started, if you're lucky, and it's sort of like, and it's just, for me, this getting this joiners, leavers and movers process embedded into, your thinking for security is absolutely crucial. Because I think those present risks, and I'm not saying that people are bad. I'm just saying that if your role and your responsibility is to protect your data, is to be more secure, then you need to be looking at these things. Like, these are important considerations.
Well, and there are things that companies can do. And again, it's a matter of where you're focusing your attention and your time. Because I have seen some very popular internal threat management tools that are 2,000 pages long. What CEO of a small business has that kind of time? They don't have the IT departments. The IT department doesn't have that kind of time.
No, of course not.
But little things like pinging my email as a CEO, if I've got somebody downloading documents, if their job is to input data, why are they exfiltrating? And I need to know that. And Absolutely. that's a simple click in some of these platforms.
Absolutely.
And those are the questions I think that are pertinent for CEOs people don't know what to ask. You don't know what you don't know, right?
This is it, yeah.
So that's our job, is to educate our leadership, because they've got to buy in. It's just like with culture, with awareness, with training. Everybody's got to understand the power of it, the validity of it.
Yeah.
We still have conversations with people that we're what, they get my data, so what are they going to do with my data? And I just went, everything, your identity, everything, and maybe it's not you. Maybe we know that Lockheed many years ago was hacked through one of their suppliers. So it's so even if you're a widget vendor, but your customer is Lockheed, you've got to be secure.
Well, one thing I find also is something that I think we've all got to do a lot better job at, is making people understand the value and the implication of data and misusing data. And my father used to run a shipping company, right? And he used to handle some relatively pretty sensitive files. And at the time, if he had, he'd go onto a ship and then take the paperwork and he'd store it away in a briefcase with a lock on it, and then put it away. Then when he got off the ship, he'd go to the filing cabinet room, he'd put it in the file, which was covered by CCTV with several bunches of keys bigger than your hand to get in there, put it away in a filing cabinet, and it was signed in and out, and it was treated like gold, right? And yet I can pretty much guarantee that now that type of data is probably in an open share somewhere, or it's just floating around. And this concept, the way that we think about data now is it doesn't matter. It's just a file. I'll just share this over Teams with somebody, and it's like, no, this matters. Like, the implication, like just because you can't see it, because you can't feel it, it is really, really, it does matter. You can do a huge amount of damage if you don't understand the importance of what you're dealing with. So I think that we need to do a much better job of making people realize the implications and the tangibility of what they have access to as well. We're just flippant with it. Like, we're far too flippant with data nowadays. And I think we've got to try and get back to where we were. I mean, to the days when my father was in shipping, where he literally would treat it like gold. It would be treated with the utmost respect. And we've just got so far away from that place now. And just that scares me a bit. That scares me.
One of the things that I watched The Great Hack, mm-hmm. and I think it's a great documentary. Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting things about that documentary is the essence of it. The person that started the whole conversation, if you will, was a professor, I believe, in a design school. I think it was Parsons School of Design. I need to fact check that, but right. But not somebody from our industry that flagged what was happening. And with what he uncovered, then all of a sudden we realized how manipulated we were being. I really didn't know how manipulated we were being on social media platforms, and the data that was being mined. Now, as a business owner, using social media and Facebook and things like that, I can target. It's great for marketing, right? I can find people for free. Mm-hmm. But flip that over, and now you've got social engineering, where if you are an employee of Twitter and you have access to a lot of information and you get socially engineered, I think those are very important conversations that we need to have.
I agree.
I think with people, and one of the things that I did in my in my dissertation was that I came at the case study reporting on two different levels. Here's how I want to report this to the IT team, and here's how I want to report this to the managing directors and the board, because I'm going to change my verbiage. I'm going to change the language and make it so that it's not eyes don't glass over and roll back in their head because I'm talking all cyber and acronyms, because we need to be relatable. And that's an issue, is to make sure that we are chatting with people on a level they can understand, and give them only what they need to know so that they don't get overwhelmed. This isn't, it is very easy to get overwhelmed. I had a malware on my phone, and an iPhone, very hard to attack. And even myself, in fixing that, I had to call a friend of mine and say, talk me off the ledge here, because, you've got so much out there and so many passwords and so many things to clean up. And he helped me just sort of categorize everything. It was really brilliant how he helped me dissect it, because it was, I had to fix a lot of things and go very, very deep into the phone. And that can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming for us. Imagine what it's like for people that don't do this day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. So,
you know what? I'm sorry. Just one other thing. When I had my store, and we would go and do events, if the internet wasn't working properly, and I had my Square or what have you, if things weren't fast enough, because everybody wants to check out fast, then my employees were having to use their internet on their phones. And knowing what I know now, it's a massive, it could have been a massive issue. Because, banking data and all that other stuff, we were having to put the Square on their phone. It plugs in, right? So just little situations like that we all have to think through.
Like using home Wi-Fi when you're working at home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I don't think a lot of companies have even thought about that.
And how protected, and that goes back to, when we first started this conversation, that goes back to educating people. I was going to get what Dr. Knowles said in one of his interviews, but he said educating people and making it personal. So if I know that how important it is to change my password from the admin on the Wi-Fi at home, but if you've got people, let's look at the mortgage industry right now. Mortgage people working from home, people that are inputting all that critical data, typically admins, right? If they're working on their home Wi-Fi and you've got social security numbers, you've got banking information, you've got everybody, everything, right? How critical is that? I'm not sure if those industries are paying enough attention. And I do, it does concern me quite a bit.
Indeed.